Hi guys! Happy Tuesday from all of us at Families of Character. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Jordan.
Today,
Welcome back.
Welcome.
Today we are talking about how using the character strength of assertiveness can help us navigate things like grief and loss, like all of us experienced in the tragic news this past Sunday with Kobe Bryant and the other 8 people that lost their lives in that horrible helicopter crash.
Yeah, I think it's really affecting all of us. And so, you see it in the social media posts that people are posting, and, we're having conversations with our kids and kind of going through our day just with kind of like that whiff of
I know. It just really got me thinking about things like back in my own childhood when the Challenger blew up and we got the news of that sitting in our classroom that morning. And then just Sarah and I were talking about just the gut punch that you get thinking about how you felt when you heard about 9/11. And that was similar on Sunday. It was just heartbreaking.
It was. People always ask you where were you? And when you hear about those things, where were you when you heard about 9/11? And where were you on Sunday?
Right.
When you heard about Kobe Bryant.
Right. I was sitting in a little restaurant in Loveland, Colorado called the Wing Shack.
Oh, wow.
Eating lunch.
I was in the airport in Dallas coming back from a trip, and I overheard someone say, oh, I had heard about the news about Kobe Bryant. And then all of a sudden, I looked up and it was on every TV, and people were just kind of glued to the TV.
We were too. That's how it was in the little restaurant.
So, Jordan, so we heard about the news.
Right.
Were you with your family?
I was.
Okay, and I was by myself.
Yes.
Okay. So kind of the question that came to my mind is how do we rebound? This didn't have a direct impact on our life.
Right.
Right? But it has an impact on our life.
Absolutely.
Right?
Without a doubt.
So how do we rebound with our families in a tragic situation like this?
Because they have question. Yes.
How do we rebound? How do we explain it to our kids?
Yeah.
So you were with your kids, I was not. So when I got home from the airport and everything, it definitely was a topic of conversation because we've got 4 kids.
Right.
Ranging in age from 12 to 2, almost 13. And Donnie had already actually had a conversation with them. This is, if this were our family, if Donnie was saying to our 13-year-old, if I took you on an airplane and, so making it kind of having them picture it as a reality.
Yeah.
And so, it's just, you see those posts on Facebook, hug your kids a little bit tighter.
Oh,
and,
yes.
You really want to take that to heart. I don't know, I guess, where were you guys? For those of you who are watching, where were you? Were you with your kids? How old are your kids? What's some of the things that were going through your head when you saw the news?
Yes. Put it in the comments.
And then, I think 2 ways to answer the question of, how do we rebound from this with our families?
Yes.
Is taking that statement that people are saying on social media, hug your kids a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
Taking that for not just a statement, but taking it for and actually putting it into action.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Setting the intention to actually do that more often.
And I think all too often we just rush. I know this is so true in my life. We rush, and we forget to tell our kids how much they mean to us.
Yes.
And I think, there were 9 people in that helicopter crash, which just unimaginable to me. But the one thing that's kind of coming out in the news is how great of a father Kobe Bryant was to his kids and how much time he spent with his kids. And I really think that is an amazing example to use.
Yes.
And to take forward. And just not only verbalizing to them how we feel.
Right.
And making that a huge practice in our daily lives, but also just taking 15 minutes of intentional time at the end of every day.
Oh my goodness.
Where we put our phones down, we're intentional with our kids. And so we put our phones down and we have that one-on-one conversation. And last night, like the best example that I can give is last night, like my daughter kept saying, will you just play? Her favorite game is Trash. It's a card game.
It's like Trash Can. Is it the same?
I don't know.
It could be. Probably.
I don't know that game. But it's like this game and it just keeps going and going and going with cards, and I don't know. So I said, yeah, we can play. And I really wanted to make it a huge priority for my evening because I wanted to spend that one-on-one time with her.
Yes.
Even though I had like a gazillion things to do on the computer, and I was like, please just go to bed. Please just go to bed. So, that's
right.
kind of how I take that to heart. So, what about you?
Yes, absolutely.
What about you guys?
Intentional time. I love that idea. That I think one of the things we were talking about too before we came on was just the fact that you said, okay, you want to play Trash Can, Anya, then can you help me get your brother to sleep? So spending intentional time can be, let's work together to make it possible for us to spend one-on-one time together. So that was like a win-win.
Yeah.
She helped you out, and then
it took us a little bit longer.
It's okay.
But
that's awesome. Yeah.
Part of the reason is because I can't still walk.
She's
still on my little knee
on her scooter from her surgery.
That's right. But,
so yeah, like using words, telling your kids how much you love them and care about them and what they mean to you, and hugging them a little bit and giving them that affection, and then just spending, I love that, 15 minutes a night. Like, and when you said that, like, put your phone down, I'm like, oh yes. We have to put our phones down, people.
I know.
Our kids are usually just staring at us.
We're staring at the phone.
That's a sad reality, people. Let's change that. Let's change that.
I know. So
yeah, and then the other question that Sarah and I were really kind of chewing on before we came on was just how can we bring a global tragedy like this into our homes so that we can really increase the family unity that we have within the four walls of our own house. And so what was just like instant response from both of us is like, how do you do that? You talk about things.
And that's where assertiveness comes in, right? Because assertiveness is being able to communicate in a healthy way.
Yes. And just to piggyback off what you were saying, it's about being direct, right? Assertiveness is having a direct conversation that is real, it's honest, and it is said in a loving way, but also in a very direct way. So, I think for me, where I went with this when we got home from the Wing Shack and had heard about this, and we were watching the footage again on the television in our living room, Lincoln and I started talking about this. And just
Lincoln is 7.
He's 7. And he started asking, like, how would that happen to the helicopter, Mom? And so I was just giving him the facts, right? I was saying, well, the fuel tank of the helicopter was not properly protected. And so when they crashed, it did cause a fire. And so they're unsure whether they died from the impact, like their bodies being thrown around, or if they actually were victims of the fire. And he was just kind of like, whoa. It really kind of brought it to light, but it's the truth. It's what he's going to see and what he's going to hear about himself at school or just with the TV on in the mornings. And so I wanted to be the one that shared that with him. And I said, I kind of did the same thing you did, where I said, what if like Dad and Annie, our 5-year-old daughter, left one day and went to gymnastics and they never came back. And we just left without saying goodbye to them, or, we had no idea that was going to be the last day that they would live. And both of us just got teared up because that brought it really close to home, and just to be thinking about that for a minute. But then I didn't stay there with him because you don't want to create that anxiety for kids and really like get him deep down the rabbit hole of, what if this was your family, but it's okay. It makes sense to give them a little bit of a preview of, and bring it home so that they can connect with that global event.
Totally. Because if that does happen, eventually at some point in their life, you know, they've been exposed to the conversation.
Yes.
So
exactly.
You know, how have you guys explained it to your kids? Are you talking about it with your kids? How are you introducing it to your kids? How are you using the character strength of assertiveness?
Yes.
To really help your kids understand that these things in life do happen, and while we don't want them to happen, you know, how can we process through those emotions?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest takeaway for me is about that kind of being direct and using that assertive communication is that it is like a springboard, because you're talking about something that's outside of your friends and family group. You're talking about other human beings, but it's not directly affected. It really helps to create the foundation for a safe conversation where they can ask questions and you can validate their feelings about something.
And building that trust, that initial trust.
Totally.
And that's what healthy assertiveness is.
Yes.
Really, is building that initial trust so that they can come back with more questions.
Yes.
Whether it's about something fun or whether it's about something difficult, like a difficult conversation. So I think, like for me especially, it's like taking the intentional time, you know? And I know, like, as parents, we're just running, which, you know, when you've got kids, it's kind of the way life goes, right?
Yeah.
And when you have a job and you have priorities and stuff like that, that's just how life goes.
It is.
And so in the snippets of our day, like, for me, it's like, okay, where can I put my phone down for 15 minutes?
Yes.
And have a conversation where my kid feels heard and seen.
Yes.
And through that feels loved.
Ooh, that's good. That's right.
Oh my gosh.
And I feel like when we're thinking about implementing something new, like setting the intention to spend 15 minutes with our family that's intentional, I don't know about you, but I get forgetful. So if I think, I'm going to be intentional, I'm going to do this new thing and implement this in my family, I'll do it for the first day or two. But then I kind of like get out of sight, out of mind. And so one of the things you and I were kind of talking about is, what about if you tied it to something that you do every night already?
Like a trigger point or a transition point.
Right. Like, okay, we all put Graham down, the baby, you know, at 7:30. So when the baby's going down for the night,
like that's when everyone comes together and plays 15 minutes of trash.
Yes. Yes. Or if you're a family that eats dinner together at night, you know, whether that be 7:30 at night after sports practice or 5:30, like right then, dinner time is the time to connect and just have your intentional time together.
Yeah. So
tie it to something you already do. Make it easy for you.
That's right.
Yes.
So our 15 minutes is about up, and we hope that you guys maybe could take this conversation and use it as a kind of a guide to help introduce the topic with your kids, you know?
Absolutely.
Tough topics. And
yes, to be courageous and assertive in your conversations with your kids. And again, anytime there's something like this in the news that is not directly impactful to your family, take that. There's so much we can't do.
Right.
You know, about we can feel helpless.
A good point. Right. Like it doesn't directly affect me.
Right. And then we just kind of feel the heaviness of it, but turn it into an opportunity. Turn this tragedy and this news into an opportunity for a conversation with your entire family to really start creating those safe spaces for conversations.
I love it. So with that, 15 minutes goes so fast.
It does. So with we just give you a little sneak preview of this topic on our live video. We want you to tune in this Saturday because we're going to have a full outline blog article that really, you could even print it off and kind of review it with your spouse if you wanted to talk about, you know, how can we implement this assertive communication and using this to navigate grief and loss in our own home.
Yeah.
That drops Saturday morning,
7 a.m.
Yes.
So thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate you being here. Please share this video on social media if you found it was helpful and you think other people could take away from it. And you bet, Christine. Thanks for joining in every week. We totally love it. So we will see you guys next Tuesday.
Sounds good. Have a good week, y'all. Bye.